Welcome to today's First Chesapeake Chat session. I'm Victoria Mulvihill, a First Chesapeake alumni, and I'm here to introduce the First Chesapeake Chats sponsored by Newport News Shipbuilding. I would like to thank this session sponsored Hamilton Beach for making this chat possible. Just some housekeeping, we'll let the speakers present and then open up for discussion questions later on if there is time. But feel free to put questions in the comments throughout the chat and we'll try to get to them all. The session today is Learn Something New. Developing a plan from lessons learned during the season, presented by Lord of the Bricks Team 7039. And I'll now pass it over to Maddie, Johnny, and Michael to introduce themselves. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, if you could all go around and
Hi, I'm Maddie.
yourselves.
I'm the team captain for 7039.
I'm Johnny.
Johnny.
I am a CAD designer for Team 7039, Lord of the Bricks.
Hi, I'm Michael Hintz, and I am the lead builder, drive coach, and CAD designer for Team 16537 Logic Coyote.
So you all have some really cool things to share with us today. And I think, Maddie, we're starting with you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about assessing your season. One way that we use to assess our season is SSC. It stands for Start, Stop, Continue. So with that, for our starts, we figure out what we need to start doing to improve for our next season. Whether it's work on the engineering notebook sooner or anything like that. For stops, anything that was just dragging us back and not helping at all. So like stop playing around during meetings. Then we have our continues, things that have been working and will continue to work for us. Like working as a team, things like that, anything that we should keep doing.
Anything that worked well.
Michael, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm bad at this. Okay, so
It's fine.
At the start of the season, our team, when the game was revealed, we thought that first designed the game to not be good for intakes, and clearly we were wrong. So if you can incorporate an intake or can think of a way, try to get it to work, because it's worked for like every season that I've been a part of. So intakes are really good. I mean, we did have a good claw bot, but still, intakes are much better. It's one thing that my team learned.
So for y'all's season, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, Michael, but what were some other things that went wrong?
Let me think. So one thing that didn't go the best for us is that when you're on an alliance, you need to be open to do any role as part of the game. Like for our last thing at States, we were with every team. It was okay, why don't we stack and you deliver to us? And we did that for our first 4 matches. But then the last match came and we tried delivering and we did awesome. So you need to be open to doing any role that will best help your team and not just be stuck on this is our one role and we feel like we're the best at it.
I think something that went wrong for our team was probably a thing that goes wrong for a lot of teams is that a lot of us are shy and we don't want to go to talk to other teams. So then when we have to go, if we do make it past the qualifiers, we have absolutely no idea who we want to choose. So we're just like looking at the board, that one.
Yeah, building a relationship with the other teams is very important. Yeah, agree with that.
Maddie, were you trying to say something? I couldn't quite hear you there. I think you had some static.
With the alliance selections, one thing we found that we need to work more on are having our scouts go out and watch the matches and talk to the teams.
I know that's always a big thing that in the moment you're like, you're focused on the robot, what's going on the field, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh no, I have to pick somebody. So those talking skills are definitely really important. Why does it also help you? Like, what other things does it ease into if you were able to talk to these teams?
Coming up with strategies. At the beginning of the season, everyone wanted to all collect the stones and put them on the foundation, but then you end up blocking each other. So you had to work with them to figure out who could stack most accurately and who could deliver best.
Johnny, Michael, do you have anything to add?
I'm thinking. I said what I had prepared to say. A couple prepared points.
It's okay if not. When you're trying to, okay, so a question that we have is, what is your process when analyzing your previous seasons for good things and bad things that you need to maybe improve on to keep your team going and improve each year?
So my team, this past year was our rookie year, so we haven't really had a lot of time to work out a good off-season strategy. So we don't really know how proven or how good this technique is. But one thing that we were planning on doing is during the off-season, building some different chassis types or some implement types to get some sort of knowledge base for those that we could use during the upcoming season. Like, one thing that I really wanted to build this off season was one of those tape measure extender things that teams use to park. Wanted to build one of those. At this point, this strategy might not be good with obvious reasons. Meeting together and stuff might not happen very much this off season. But if it does, that's at least our plan, is to make sure that we're prepared for the next year. And also sponsorships. Getting sponsorships is a very important thing during the off season.
One thing that we've worked on since previous seasons are sliders. My first year, we made a slider, and I think we only scored once in Cascade Effects and at States, I think. So over the years, we've been able to figure out how to have less friction so that they actually function well.
Johnny, did you want to add something to that?
I was gonna say that about the question, what is your process when analyzing your previous season? I would say when we're looking at our stops, what do we have to stop doing? Those can give us ideas for like stuff that we need to start doing, like things that fix that and make it better.
And we also use our previous engineering notebooks.
So what kind of, when you're helping or talking to new teams or other teams about kind of like your strategy process and trying to figure out, how you can maybe help guide them to making those changes and alterations from year to year, what's some advice that you would tell them to like look for in those? I think you called them the stops, right?
So with the stops, they can be simple things like don't fall asleep at competition. We had that problem at one competition a couple of years ago. Johnny, do you have any other stops that we've used?
Honestly, there's probably too many to count. I think every team has so many things that there's just like, oh my gosh, this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. I think, I'd have to think about that question.
Do you have a few of your own from like last season?
I'd say maybe organizing our table, maybe, and not having a lot of people just sitting around or like snacking, having things that everybody has something that they're doing.
One thing that my team has done to help with that, we actually have in the middle of a meeting a designated snack time, and that's where people can eat snacks, get some food, blow off some steam, and just kind of be active so that they don't be unproductive during the meeting. So that's one thing that we have incorporated, and that has seemed to go pretty well. And it doesn't have to be exactly like that, just something that helps to allow people to have some fun, but to like have not robotics related fun and just have fun with their friends, but so that they're not doing that when we're trying to have a meet and build stuff.
Yeah, we called that team building, I think it was. So we're building a team and sort of getting to know each other in a fun way that also helps to, as you said, blow off some steam and just relax and take a break from all the work that we're doing.
Occasionally it can turn from being
I think one year
fun to violent, but yes.
Game.
Sorry, Maddie, repeat that.
One year with our team building time, we created a game, Trash Get Ball, where we just used a random basket.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I used to be on Lord of the Bricks before this past year. I started this team. Don't know if I mentioned that at that point. So yeah, that's why. If I seem like I remember stuff, that's why. Because basketball was so fun.
So some things that I think you guys mentioned, like some things that went wrong, but what were some things about your season that went really well? That would be good guidance for other teams to maybe kind of reflect on and stuff.
I think I'm not a programmer, but I have like seen and heard about the programs, and we have been creating programs. So like I think for autonomous, we created programs depending on which side we are and like what role we're playing in the game.
Mm-hmm, yes, multiple autonomous programs. Multiple autonomous programs are very useful.
Yeah, like if both teams have just one program for the same role, that's not going to be very good.
And another thing is having even multiple programs that do the same thing that just have a different path can help.
Yeah.
So again, with the strategizing. So
multiple programs so the robots aren't crossing paths and colliding with each other.
Yeah. Although once we did collide with
another thing that
partners,
we used
to push us over the bridge.
Here.
What were you saying, Maddie?
Another thing that helped us this year and past years is CAD, so that we can design our robot before we have to order the parts. So instead of testing it out and having to buy the parts first, we figure out what we need, and it's much more cost efficient.
Yes.
And also, I think something that we used in a couple of past years is like prototyping with like cardboard and just random materials, so we can see if a certain assembly even works or if it's a completely silly idea and it we shouldn't buy the parts.
Mhm. Yeah, another thing
This
not really
year
a
we
what went. Another thing that was not
Sorry.
really a what went well, is more of a what went wrong, but it's just something good to keep in mind. Don't become overly attached to an idea that you came up with, because especially before you actually start prototyping it. Because like near the start of the season, I spent like 3 weeks and countless hours CADing this one intake design, but it was a top intake that would knock the block over into the robot, like from the top. And I thought, oh, this design is awesome. And I started carrying it so much and I got so attached to the idea. And then we prototyped it and it didn't even come close to working. And that was extremely depressing. So yeah, getting not too attached to ideas is good from that perspective. And also getting very attached to an idea can make other ideas that other members come up with, can make them seem less good. So that's another reason to not be too attached to
This
it.
season, we used a scissor lift, and we went through 3 different designs before we made what we have now.
I think we have a question in the comments.
We do. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the question is, what have you learned about how to have a build team and programming team working together?
So yeah, one thing that is very common with with build team and programming is this is the programmer's fault, or this is a building issue, not us. So yeah, we working together and having a good rapport with your building and programmers works really, really well together. I mean, I am primarily a builder, but I worked on the programming side too, and just allowing to see it from both angles really helps and makes it so you can not get into arguments, because you're on the same team. You shouldn't be fighting with each other about something silly like that. So
We've had times where it wasn't the programmers or the builders necessarily, it was just that someone accidentally unplugged something.
yeah.
And how important would you say it is to build those team relations? And what are some skills that you do to maybe enforce communication between each other so you make sure you don't get into any kind of tough situations?
So one thing that we've done is we specifically, I mean, what my team does is we never work on any project alone. We always do it with somebody, and we try to mix up who's working on the project together to make it so everybody can work with everybody. And I mean, even if you're being on a team and working with somebody, there will be times where you're annoyed with another team member. That's kind of unavoidable, but just making it so you can at least stand the person enough to work and not be fighting, it's very good. So yeah, that's what we do. We meld and mix up who's working on what together.
I think, as I was saying before, the team building, that sort of helps to get to know each other and be more friends instead of robotics working partners.
Maddie, do you want to add
And with,
something? I know you muted.
and with communicating with each other while building, we also try to, with our engineering notebooks especially, to put in what we did so that a team member can look at it and go, oh, that's why they changed that.
Engineering notebook is extremely important, and not just for awards.
What are some other things that you can focus on in your engineering notebook to help you prepare in between seasons?
So in between seasons, we don't usually stop. We usually move on to more outreach since we have more time.
And what kind of outreach and stuff do you do?
So
for right now, especially what's going on, we've been teaching some CAD classes.
Our team has not been doing a ton of outreach during this, unfortunately. I'd love us to, but yeah, it's much harder to. And our team is a rookie team last year, so slightly more unexperienced. And I mean, they are awesome. I'm not saying that, but that they're not. But I don't know if we're at the point where we can really teach and do a bunch of online classes and stuff. But hopefully there won't be much more pandemics.
Our team has been doing the robots to the rescue competition. And
We've also been 3D printing masks.
yeah. And of course doing this.
Right.
And for our team meetings, we have a team member or two talk about a topic within robotics.
Yeah, we've been doing virtual meetings.
We've been kind of doing virtual meetings, but like not for robotics productive purposes, just for hanging out with each other and continuing to keep up the rapport, but not really for robotics stuff.
We've sort of been doing that, like once the meeting is over, we'll just, like our coach will get off the meeting and we can do virtual team building.
I think it's just as important to have those communications keep up during this time so that when you all can get back together and work on your robots and stuff, you aren't strangers. I mean, you're friends and you're having a good time with the robot. And so I think it is probably very beneficial for you all to do that. Taking it back to what's in your engineering notebook, or kind of just like how you focus each season, and how to make those plans for each and kind of make those plans for each season and kind of learn from yourself. What kind of things do you look for in your engineering notebook? If like you had a problem later on in competition, where do you go to look for like maybe where you could have done something differently? Anyone? I know for me, something that my old robotics teams would look at is if we got to competition and we had a gear or something, our motor that didn't work and we had a really hard time with the gear ratios and everything, we would go back and think, okay, when we were prototyping, we were going through all these different cycles, what kind of things did we look for to make us choose this design in the first place? And maybe how can we adapt it in this season to finish it out, or for next season to make a difference and improve?
With this season, when we started off with the lead screw design, we had used a lead screw in previous years. So we looked at that to get an idea of how to put it together.
Lead screws are awesome, by the way. So, yeah, look into those.
This year, I was sort of, when I was trying to come up with an idea, since it's a very interesting thing, you have to raise your robot way up top when it has to be able to get under something so short. We were first, I think we were all thinking either linear sliders or lead screws and whatnot. But I was trying to just think out of the box, sort of, and what would do the same thing just without doing that, without having like a obvious answer, I guess, since it's rarely the obvious answer that actually works in my experience. So yeah, I think just to think outside of the box about a way to solve the problem, and maybe if that doesn't work, that can get you to work back inside the box instead of working out of the box.
And have you ever looked back inside like a past? Sorry, that's my weather alarm. Have you ever looked past in a past engineering notebook for an answer?
I think, Maddie, is that how you came up with our design for this year?
Yeah, so previous year we had also used a scissor lift, except instead of going up, it went side out. So we looked at that to get an idea how to make it work how we needed it this year.
Yeah, another thing for looking at past ideas. Well, we are a rookie team, so we don't really have a notebook to go back to. Our main gripper, I did for designing it, did take some experience from building with Lord of the Bricks on our relic recovery robot, because we had a claw on that as well and similar-ish shaped components. So I did remember what we did for that claw and took that into account when designing our robot's claw.
And Michael, what kind of things did you, as a rookie team, what kind of like challenges or learning experiences did you come across?
So one of the big issues with having a rookie team is inexperience. And we had, with a rookie team, we have a lot of younger people. So what we did is we were actually able to get our rookie team off the ground in enough time that we spent the entire last summer meeting frequently and making sure that everybody, like the programmers, knew how to use Java programming. And we've still learned that throughout the year some. And some people got some CAD experience and building experience. So time management is really, really useful with rookie teams so that you have the time to get the knowledge that you need to be successful, because when you're learning in the middle of the build season, that's not really setting you up for success. I mean, I think that's why you see some rookie teams have like smaller robots that don't have all the crazy implements, and some of the other rookie teams have cool looking robots. And I feel like that's why, is because of time management and making sure everybody knows what they're doing.
I think that's very important. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
So like what Michael said, at the beginning of the season, we started working on CAD to teach some of our newer members, but eventually got to a point where we had to CAD the robot. So some of them know how to put the parts together, but didn't quite know how to make like a box or anything, since they didn't get the basics as much as the joint commands.
Ronnie, did you want to add anything?
No. I don't think I have anything else.
You guys did a great job today. So thank you so much for speaking with
Thank
us. I learned a lot. And I want to take this time again just to thank our sponsor one more time, Hamilton Beach, and have a great rest of your day.